Hey folks, welcome back to Real Estate Investing Unmasked. Today we're going to talk about commission, realtor's commission. This topic may not be a sexy one necessarily, but I wanted to talk about realtor's commissions, and I want to talk to you about it because, well, it's kind of a topic that realtors don't want to talk about. Not always. I mean, they'll talk about it, but they aren't very happy when people mention it. Let me talk to you a little bit about what's going on in the background in the real estate industry right now. There's a whole lot of stuff with the internet going on where, because of all the electronic access that people have to properties and information, people are seeing less and less value in what the realtors have to offer. And because I'm educated in real estate transactions and doing things and selling property and buying property, for me personally, I don't find a whole lot of value in realtors in general, especially as a buyer's realtor. I really don't. As a buyer's agent, I have found that I do most of the work. And I would say that's probably the same with most of you out there. If you're looking for a property, you probably don't need a buyer's agent necessarily. Really, the only thing that I need a buyer's agent for these days is for them to deliver my purchase agreement and to get me the code to get me inside the house, to give me a tour. And even then, if it wasn't for the ethics rules and things like that, I wouldn't even need a realtor to be there with me to get into a house. And I can tell you, I've been in many a house without a realtor. So, having said that, there are certain positive things about realtors and things that they do. Does the buyer's agent deserve a 3% cut? And the reality is they don't get a 3% cut. They actually give a portion of their commission to their broker. Let me give you a rundown on how this works. You essentially have four parties that are involved. You've got the seller's realtor, the seller's broker, the buyer's agent, and the buyer's broker, the realtor. Usually it's a realtor. Now, there's a difference between an agent and a realtor, but we're just going to call them realtors. We're going to use the term synonymously for this video because so many people that are agents are also realtors. So I know they're not the same thing. I have a video. I'll post it right here, so you guys can see the difference between a realtor and an agent. But I'm just going to call them as if they're synonymous because most people out there in the world are going to use the term synonymously anyway. So what happens is you got these four parties. When you sell your house, typical commission right now, average is between 5 and 6%. They will always start at 6% until you talk them down. Now, the buyer's agent gets paid by the person selling the house. Rarely, if ever, does a buyer's agent get paid from the person who's buying the house. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't. It's always the person who's selling the house. It takes a cut from what they're selling the house for, and that's how it's always been. That's probably how it's going to continue to go. So these four people, let's say we sell a house for $100,000, makes the numbers easy. $6,000 of that is going to be split up amongst these four people if you're at 6% commission. The seller's agent will get $3,000 to split with their broker. The buyer's agent will get $3,000 to split with their broker. Now, it's not always a 50-50 mix, but it's close enough. It could be a 35-65 split. It could be 60-40, 70-30, etc. But the broker is going to get some because that realtor, no matter which one, the agent, either the buyer or seller's agent, will have to pay desk fees. They'll have to pay broker fees. They have to pay licensing fees through the National Association of Realtors. They may even have a local club they belong to. They may have to pay $1,000 or more to have advertisement on Zillow, on Trulia, on Redfin, all these different websites that they may put their name out on Google so that you can find them. So they spend thousands of dollars, and there's huge competition. Why is there huge competition? Because there's a lot of money involved, and it's very low barriers to entry. You got to pass a test. So as long as you can study something for a couple of hours and you can pass the test, that's a job that you can get. And it's very quick. It's very easy to get into being a realtor, being an agent. Realtors should be experts at closing escrow. Really, that is their bread and butter. That's what their bread and butter should be, is knowing paperwork. Because when it comes to finding a house, it's not that hard anymore. It's not like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, before the internet was around, where people could go look online and find a house on their own. You actually had to know your area. The realtors had to call other realtors and say, hey, I got a guy that's looking for a 3-bed, 2-bath. What do you have? Hey, I got a guy that's wants a 3-bed, 2-bath. What do you have? Hey, I got a guy that wants a 3-bed, 2-bath, etc. And so you'd call around and find out. You'd get lists. They'd put out articles, almost like magazines full of houses back 20, 30 years ago. You'd look up in the newspaper. They'd have tons and tons of houses that were listed. That's how they got the information out. Now they post everything online. You have access to see it. There are some, I believe, I haven't used these people, but I believe there are some people that will just list your property on the MLS. They'll just charge a $100 listing fee. And then you basically sell the house on your own. Now, if you get a buyer's agent, by law, if an agent brings you a contract to buy your property and you accept that contract, you do have to pay that realtor their fees. Now, it is negotiable. You can negotiate the fees. You can tell that buyer's agent that comes to you and say, I'm only paying 2% to the buyer's agent. And they may say, then I don't want to give you my client's information. And that's fine. That is up to them and their client. Are they doing what's in the best interest of their client? Maybe not. But that's how they make their living. So the commissions are always negotiable, which is another big thing going on in the market right now. Is there are some people that are saying, no, this is collusion right now, that in the market everybody says it has to be 6%, and that's not true. I currently have a realtor who's representing me, who's listing my property, and I'm paying 5%, 2.5% to the seller agent and 2.5% to the buyer's agent. I still think that's too much. My personal opinion is realtors get paid too much. That's going to tick off a lot of realtors. The reason being is the work that they put in, at least for an educated buyer, is almost nothing. I'm sorry, it is almost nothing. I have closed properties where I didn't use a realtor at all. I didn't use a lawyer at all. What I used was I used the title company. The title company sent me everything I needed. I needed notarized stuff. And then for the person who was buying the property from me, I contacted them and made sure they got all the documents in to the title company. And the title company gave them instructions on what they needed to do. And so we were able to record title, and they were able to get their loans on their side, and it was no problem. It really was no problem. As long as the title company says, I need this, 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 and this, and you get it all into them within the stated amount of time, they do all the paperwork. It's not that hard to do. Realtors, so where do realtors' value come into play? They come into play when you have a buyer that doesn't know how to buy or a seller that doesn't know how to sell on their own. They don't know how to fill out the contracts on their own. A lot of what they're doing to take this test is to know how to fill out a contract. That's most of it. Other than that, I can show up on a Saturday afternoon and show somebody a house. I can show up on a Sunday afternoon and show somebody else a house. I can even do a 360-degree virtual tour for you. Now, that's also where some of their value comes into play. They know people. Quite often, if you have a good realtor, they have a network of a plumber that can fix a problem, lickety-split, because say they found something on an inspection, or they've got a drywaller, they've got a photographer, they've got a videographer. They have these teams that they have established if they've been doing it for a while, and that's where they get some of their worth. Now, in my opinion, I'm using a realtor so that I don't have to think about any of this stuff. He gets the phone calls, he deals with all the listing, he does the creativity, he gets the photography, he gets everything all together and takes care of the majority of that stuff. And for that, I think he should get compensated. If a realtor is doing it full time, they may not sell a house every month, but they might. They might sell 2 or 3 or 4. In a place like Southern California, where the average house is like $700,000 in my county, well, 3% for your portion is a lot of money. If you're selling one house a month, you're making, let's say 1% is what you get to keep. That's $84,000 a year. That's enough to live off of. It is, but it's a lot of work. But we all have to work. And we all pay taxes. We all have fees. And the realtors that have commented on other sites to talk about how much money they spend on gas and how they have to get out there on weekends and holidays, that's the line of work you're choosing. I choose a line of work where I go to work Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 2:30, or 7 a.m. to 3:30, or where I go and swing a hammer for a couple hours and fix the house and sell it. We all choose our own professions. And if you don't think it pays enough, stop being a realtor. In my opinion, it's a flooded market. There are too many realtors. It's a market where your aunt or your cousin or your uncle or your brother or sister, mom or dad get into it because, hey, I know my kids are going to need to buy a house, so they can buy it through me, and I can make the commission off of that. And so it's kind of one of those things where you don't have to be an expert. And I know there are some realtors that are amazing at what they do. And if they are, they probably make plenty of money doing it. Quite common, you'll find realtors driving the Lexus or the Tesla or the Range Rover. You'll find the nicer cars being driven by them because they have a status symbol they have to uphold. So that's why your commissions are high. Now, all this to say, in the United States and Canada, our commissions are high, in my opinion. They're 6% total for the buyer and seller's agents. So if I'm selling this $100,000 house and I'm losing $6,000 off the top, man, that hurts. If I'm selling a $300,000 house and I'm losing 6% off the top, that's $18,000. That hurts. If I'm selling $1 million house, I'm losing $60,000. $60,000 for you to go and put my house up on a website. And here's the other thing too. Now, if my house is crap, I'll just tell you this. If my house is just terrible and you're representing me and I'm trying to sell that house, then yes, you deserve the 6%, probably deserve an 8% or 9% commission because it is really hard to sell a bad house. However, when my house has been rehabbed, it's been fixed up, it is beautiful, been designed perfectly, the curb appeal is amazing, you don't deserve the 6%. My house will sell itself. So that's how I feel about it. Now, commissions are very negotiable. I found several sites in Canada where they said, okay, on the first $100,000, it's 7% commission. Anything above that, it's 1 3/4% commission. Okay, hey, I'm cool with that. I found some sites. I think there's a new one, Purple Bricks, that's out there where they charge $4,900 or $5,900 as a flat fee for you to sell the property, plus the 3% for the buyer's commission. Fine, you get up to $1 million home, $5,000 is nothing. You know, $5,000 compared to the $60,000. You'll have to pay probably $30,000 to the buyer's agent, but $35,000 instead of $60,000, you just save $25,000. That's a brand new car. So they're definitely negotiable. However, take that into consideration with what they do in England. In England, realtors are earning money by only having a 1 3/4, 2, 2.5. At most, I saw was a 3% commission on selling homes. 3%. And that's for buying and selling. Plus they have their value-added tax. They have taxes that go on top. So here's the deal. Are realtors charging too much in America? Yes. Yes, they are. But at least now you know a little bit of the background. I believe it was in the 1950s when the National Association of Realtors suggested a 6% commission. So that's where it all comes down to. Definitely negotiate. If you have a nice house and you're selling it, definitely negotiate with your realtor and bring that down. I have sold, I think the least I've ever sold it for was 4% commission. The most I've ever done was 6%, and that was basically the first house I did when I didn't know what I was doing. But I have never paid 6% since. Matter of fact, 5% that I'm paying now is as high as I'm willing to go. I will never go more than 5% again. And I will likely go lower. So if you have any questions about buyer or seller agents, how to find them, what to do when you do have them, what you should expect them to do for you, charges, things like that, please comment down below. Click once if you like me, click twice if you didn't like me, and definitely subscribe. I'll see you later.